Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special session called With Great Power Comes Great Responsibility. So, from an orphaned billionaire with a score to settle to a kid bitten by a spider, all heroes have an origin story, and hashtag commsHERO is no different. Ever wondered how the Caped Comms Crusader community came to be? Well, wonder no more, as we have our very own Stanley, as if Chowdhury, no less, in the hot seat to talk highlights, lowlights, not the high ones, and plans for the future. It might not be Wayne Manor, but Resource HQ is the backdrop for this fireside chat with me, Fat Girl, in the seat, asking all the questions. And I am even dressed in my smoking jacket for the occasion because I can't be upstaged by Andy Barr yesterday, can I? And it might not look very glam, but this is my study that I am doing it from. So I'm trying to get all the vibes here. Okay, so let's have some emoji love for the man who has made all of this possible. And if you have any questions, do drop them into the chat. So Rachel Miller's saying, what an intro. I had to share the copy because I am dead proud of it. So, as if, over to you. I know you have a John Popham tribute that you would like to share before we get started with the tough questions that everyone wants to know the answers to.
Yes, thank you, Teela, first for that intro. That is just amazing. I hope I can live up to this. But first and foremost, John Popham, who an absolute commsHERO legend, who passed away a year today. Although that tweet's from the 30th. That was announcing that he'd passed away the day before. So Helen Reynolds and I did a session last year dedicated to that. So I wanted to remember John. And we said last year on the 30th of September, we said we will remember him. So I wanted to make sure we did exactly that. And please remember him by continuing to be positive, use social media for good, and remember to ask yourselves, how can you make someone else's life better this week? And that was from his family, who still keep his Twitter account open. So if we can go to the next slide, I urge everyone at BeMoreJohn, please follow that account and hashtag BeMoreJohn. Get that tweeted out as well, because I want that up there. So John, he'll be watching and looking down on us. So John, just so for people who don't know John Popham, he was involved in commsHERO right from the very beginning. All the video content you see on YouTube from the early days, John did that, but an absolute legend for social media and forever in our hearts. And we will remember him every year as long as we're doing commsHERO. So thank you everyone for all the emoji love. So appreciate that, Teela. Thank you.
Thank you, Asif. And I do think that kind of sums up this community, that we, would have that love, and to be more John, it's a nice message to kind of start with. So let's get into it. Let's get into these questions. So the big question, Asif, did Macmillan get it right with that biscuit ranking?
I commented on that, the hashtag dunkability. I'm not sure. There's lots of choice, but everyone's an individual. I've met so many people with different biscuit opinions over the years, but the humble custard cream is definitely a favour. And for anyone who's had the pleasure of having cake rusks, which are a delicacy in the South Asian community, then Google that, Regal, or I'm trying to think other brands do them as well, but cake rusks, have a look. But custard cream for me. So look, Jaffa cakes all the way. So
I love how diplomatic you are. You've got a role in government for sure. But yeah, I think we've divided opinion there. Hal Reynolds is saying Weetabix, and I tend to agree with that. Weetabix are absolutely not a biscuit.
No,
and not. Anyone who thinks so, please leave.
Jaffa cakes, biscuit or a cake. Jenny Field coined the phrase biscake. Biscake. They are both.
So we've got a lot of love for Jaffa cakes, and I hope that will the calendar be continuing? So this is the Dunkability calendar for anyone.
Well, we've got the Wheel of Dunkability digital version, dunkability.com. You can go and have a spin of the wheel, and then you can share it on social and see which biscuit you are. But we actually do have a real life wheel that people like Avita Patel, when we were both at the same event, has had a go at. So yeah, the Wheel of Dunkability is a real thing, but it is digital as well for all you digital fiends out there.
Excellent. So go on. Oh, Lee's dropped a link. Spin the wheel, see what your biscuit of choice is. And obviously the next question to that then, what are we drinking with these biscuits? What are we dunking them into?
Well, there are some people out there who don't dunk. So Nick Cullen from PA Housing, Karen Gilmore over in Northern Ireland, they don't dunk. So there are a few people who don't, but most of the people, Yorkshire tea, the unofficial
the only answer for
brew,
me, Yorkshire
the
tea,
unofficial brew of commsHERO, yes, has been known for people to dunk them in coffee and sometimes orange squash, believe it or not. I've heard that.
Absolutely not. I'll go with Helen here with Irish whiskey. I like the sound of that. I'll have to try that one. Right, okay. Hang on. Lancashire tea.
Get away.
Nah,
Can we delete that person out of the platform, please, immediately?
That has got to be edited out, surely.
I knew it would be Jason Cayley from Great Place. Hi, Jason.
Right. Okay, so I want to, before we get started into the proper questions, as if I want to share a little story, and I'll keep it short because I realise this is not about me. This is all about you. So back in April 2020, which sounds about 3 million years ago, April 2020, everyone remember that? About 7 weeks into lockdown, and I wasn't quite at the acceptance stage. I would say it's more like stop the world, I want to get off stage. And I was looking for my very first job in comms. So for anyone who has not heard my story and me going on about being a teacher, I was a teacher for 11 years, moved into comms and I decided the best time to look for a job would, of course, be during a pandemic. It was proving quite the challenge. Let's not get into that. But then up popped commsHERO to brighten my day by upgrading my biscuit dunking and providing that community of heroes. So right there in my darkest of days, I found that community, and I even got to have bants with Mr. and Mrs. Wadds, the PR golden couple, and I know Wadds is on later on today. So speaking in the backstage to Carly Cook and Sarah Cooey-Combs, it became very apparent that everyone has their own "how did you get into commsHERO" story. So I thought it would be great to bring some people up onto the stage later on at the end, maybe about Q2, if we can. So later on, I will be asking people to share their stories. So ever the teacher, I am giving you warning, so do prepare it. And I will be asking you to come up onto the stage and share that story. Please only share stories that are safe for work, and share your story on Twitter as well with the hashtag commsHERO.
And as any good teacher, if you don't get any volunteers, you'll be picking people out from the audience.
I will be picking my own volunteers if nobody else steps up. And I'll be starting with Kate Jones and other commsHERO speakers. And Jason for that Lancashire tea,
yeah. Get him out.
I forgot about that. So Asif, over to you. Tell us a bit about how did commsHERO come to be?
Well, first of all, I've got to say it's not just myself. There are loads of people here at Resource who are kind of the backbone to it. So credit to everyone. Too many people to mention, but you'll have seen some of them speaking anyway. But it came about because having been on the comms circuit, going to lots of events where comms people were, they're people I want to network with and hopefully work with and do projects with. And the more events I went to, having worked with comms people for many years, who inherently I find the comms people I've worked with and who I know are a very creative bunch of people. And all the events that I was going to, and this is probably going back, commsHERO has been going for 7 years, but going back before that, maybe to 8 or 9 years ago, all the events were very pale, male, stale, very formal, very dry. The subject matter was great, but you were kind of being ushered into one speaker session, the speakers would overrun, and then all I saw was people being shepherded and herded from one speaker session to another. And then there were morning and afternoon breakouts where you had a choice of 3, so you could only see 2 of the speakers in the day. And I just thought, well, why do people have to pay £500+? Why are all comms events in London? Nothing wrong with London, I love London, but you've either, being a northerner, you've either got the choice of going the night before, expensive a hotel, or getting up at stupid o'clock, or getting home at stupid o'clock, and all these things. I said, look, there must be a better way to do it, and nobody was really interested in changing it. So we said, what the heck, can we do it? And that's kind of where it started. Are we going to do it? So that's where commsHERO started, that thought in March 2014. And we said, okay, we're going to do an event. We set up, we picked the 13th of May 2014 at Bridgewater Hall in Manchester. So it wasn't going to be in London. We picked a price. I asked a few people I knew, so if it was about 150 quid, would you, or 180 quid including VAT, would you come along for a day event? And enough people said yes. So we kind of said, okay, we came up with a brand name, I saved the date, and we had 8 weeks to get speakers, decide what commsHERO is. And having worked on lots of people's brands, it was our opportunity to put that to the test for ourselves. Now, could we create a brand, deliver an event within, get speakers, get delegates, do all the branding, etc., and all the promotion for the event within 8 weeks, which we did, and we had 85 people come into the first one. So that's where it all started from, really.
I love that natural disruptor origins, and I think we've got our first volunteer for our session at the end.
Excellent.
In fact, we've got a couple talking at the back, Carly and Helen. They'll be dragged up to the stage later on. So yeah, that great stories there. I've got a question from all my social managers out there. Let me hear you say, hey. How did you grow the community? So we're at 12.4K. On Twitter. Like, how did we get to that mass that it is today from those humble beginnings 7 years ago?
Well, genuinely, there's loads of scheduling tools and all the stuff that social media managers, that's their lifeblood of what they do. But genuinely, honestly, to everyone, that we have most of the tweets, it's somebody on a phone and tweeting. The key to all this was we were going to create conversations and not just broadcast content. That was the thing about social at the time. That was one of my real bugbears, that posting at any time of day or night, or scheduling for it to drop out any time of day or night, but then not being on hand to respond promptly. And I think the fact that we were posting lots of content, but engaging with people who were replying to that content, but also I troll social to just find those stories of people. I find comms people are inherently modest. Apart from when they're telling everyone else's story, that's when the modesty goes out the window, and we're all brilliant at doing that. But telling our own story, they're not as good at doing that. So I wanted to create that platform to say to people, look, if you've got job opportunities, if you're looking for a job, if you want to celebrate your own success or something your team have done, hashtag commsHERO, and I guarantee, absolutely guarantee, you will get a like, a retweet, an engagement, and I can guarantee that because I was the one doing it along with some of the guys here at Resource at the time. So it was a personal commitment that we took and said, look, if we want to make it work, then. And I think at the time, 7 years ago, there weren't many accounts out there who would willingly do that, because social media managers, you've got a time limit. That's what you're doing for your job, and this was far more than the job. And all this I have to say, this was all having to be done outside of the day job, and that's important. So if you're really passionate about it, the real acid test is when you're not getting paid to do that extra stuff. Are you going to do it? And yeah, we kind of stood up to that, and the answer was yes for us.
Yeah, I think I've always loved that, you can see that person behind, and I love that you jump on things that are happening, and you've always made me laugh as well. So I think that's why it's such a huge draw. And I think we heard some great tips from, I'm like, was it yesterday or the day before? It was yesterday, Michelle Goodall talking about how to kind of build those communities.
Yeah.
And yeah, you've absolutely got to put the effort in, haven't you?
Yeah,
got a question that fits in here with what you're saying. Hal Reynolds, anything worth doing is a bumpy road. How do you keep momentum and so full of energy when things get challenging?
I just think the commitment to the cause, it hasn't changed from day one. And I have to pinch myself sometimes and look when I'm looking back, 7.5 years on now, or nearly 7.5 years, and it's still, the community is growing, it's still going. That's what kind of inspires. If you can't get inspired by that, then what inspires you? You know, that the content, the recognition, just the reactions from people. You know, when people receive swag, you know, handwriting notes to people, and nobody fails to. It doesn't fail to get a positive reaction. That stuff is, you know, if you can't feed off getting engagement, then you're in the wrong job, to be honest with you, because that's why you're doing it, to get engagement, whether it's internal, external, comms, you know, stakeholders, influencers. Once you get that response from your public, then I think you want to do more. You should want to do more. So yeah, absolutely. That's the stuff that keeps you going.
Yeah, and I think I've got to talk about the great swag. Like, we as communicators, we love our stationery, and I think you've absolutely nailed it. So some great swag there. I think I've got 3 or 4 of the t-shirts. I've got my notebook here, just right in front of me. Personalised notebook, which is a big thing for, you know, girls called Teela who never had personalised things. So I feel very seen. So thank you to you guys.
No, you're welcome. And everyone who's booked a place at commsHERO will be getting swag at the end of October. Stuff like that, you know, just bringing, you know, not everything's digital, just making that kind of physical connection with people has always been a massive part of commsHERO, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And so you said you've been going like a number of years now. Tell us about how lockdown impacted the community. How did it change your offering?
Well, we had an event booked for Manchester, which was about mental health in the workplace, and we'd had that booked for quite a few months. And during March and the lockdown, I kind of waited till the very last moment before I had to say, look, we need to cancel this. And it was the right thing to do. And I thought, you know, we'll do it on Zoom, but genuinely by about the end of April, the novelty of Zoom and Teams was huge at the beginning of lockdown. But by the end of April, maybe sometime mid-May, that novelty turned into kind of stress and mental health issues that quickly, I noticed. And I said, well, actually, I'm not going to jump into doing this virtually. Let's just sit tight and wait, because the last thing anyone needs is another virtual event. Because at that time, people were in the comms community, you know, CIM, CIPR, PRC, everyone who had to communicate and deliver services to their membership, they had only that channel. And I thought, well, we don't need to add to that space, because comms people are genuinely under enough pressure as it stands anyway. So we said we decided to go virtual as resources and events company. Our in-person events client calendar has been devastated by COVID and the pandemic, just like every other events company. So we were investigating virtual event platforms, and rather than taking the easy route, which was let's go on Zoom and let's do Teams, what was really important to commsHERO was the networking, because that's how we've built the community, building relationships, connecting people. And we're genuinely really passionate about that, because there's people who we've introduced 7 years ago that are still really good friends now and talk to each other and are helping each other in what they do, and sometimes professionally and personally. And we were investigating which platforms, and we found AirMeet, which is the platform we're on now, because it's got the networking tables and people, everyone. We excuse me, in the in-person events, we always had a 15-minute break after each session. We mirrored everything that we could about the in-person events into the virtual format, and that's something that has been very different again. So we wanted to try and disrupt that space. And were we going to do a 3-hour, half-day webinar where people are just getting talked at and there's no communication, no opportunities to chat? We said no. Well, shall we do a full day? I said, well, people don't have the time. So I said, well, okay, well, why don't we do something different? Let's do a week. Let's do commsHERO week, because by the time we did it in September last year, that was 6 months into the pandemic. And I said, this is probably, if there's ever been a cause for the commsHERO community to come together and celebrate the heroics they've performed every day, then this is the reason. So why not? Let's have a whole week dedicated to doing that. And that's exactly what we did. So we had the table networking, which we've got now. So we encouraged that. And it was brilliant to see people. If you were a PRCA member, you only went to their event. But if it doesn't matter which organization you're a member of, and if you're not a member of those organizations, you can come to commsHERO, because there's no there is a membership badge. You get a commsHERO pin badge, and highly coveted and sought after. But that what's important to us is people who you don't have to work in comms. So we've had people from customer services, comms. It doesn't make a difference. If you're attracted by the community, then just get involved and join in.
Yeah, fab. I love that. Comms without borders, basically. And I'm impressed that you managed to say all that without using the word pivot. I was waiting for it.
I've removed that from my vocab.
Yeah, good. Talking about removing things, shall we? Let me skip ahead to my Room 101 question in that case. So you pivot is going in there. I'm thinking about, so it's not just commsHERO week. For the uninitiated few, there is commsHERO events at the end of every month, and you also do the podcast. So you guys are, I don't know when you have time to sleep. You are basically out here representing day in, day out. But one of my favourite things on the monthly get-together has been Room 101. And I couldn't ask you questions without asking, what would go into your Room 101?
Here's the unpopular opinion coming now. Social media scheduling software. For me, I totally understand the reasons for it and the benefits of it. However, I do genuinely believe that it's created a generation of, that's not generational by age, by the way. It's just, there's people like me who view social media, and so it's not an age thing. But social media scheduling tools, automation, has created a kind of lazy culture. So it doesn't matter what time you're posting, but what time are you responding and engaging? I think that's the key for me. That's what makes social work, being there for the audience that you've created, the engagement. So you could have really successful campaigns. When scheduled tweets go bad from Kate Jones, exactly, those scheduled tweets that, there could be and I can't remember exactly, I think it was an airline company, and there was a disaster that had happened, and they were still promoting something, I think it might have been one of the Paris disasters, the Paris bombing or something like that. And they were promoting a, discounted flights to Paris or something because it was scheduled. So it's stuff like that, okay, you might have scheduled it, but keep aware of your environment and go back in and delete the stuff. So definitely scheduling software leading to lazy marketing is a Room 101 entry for me.
Excellent. I like that you had that straight away, didn't you? You didn't have to search anywhere for that. I do not like, I feel like this might be controversial, and maybe this is the English teacher in me, but I hate what's called a tautology, things like lived experience, because all experience has had to be lived. Yeah, I wonder if is Steve in the room? Like, am I treading on his toes here, taking on Room 101?
Tautology, I love that. I'm going to use that word. I've never heard it before, but I'm going to use it out of context loads today on Twitter. Yeah,
things like naan bread. Like, you don't need both of those words. Okay, so let's talk highlights and lowlights. So Jim Gordon tells Batman, you're going to make a difference. A lot of times it won't be huge, it won't be visible even, but it will matter just the same. So I imagine it can be, like you talked about, it being outside of your work hours, something that you've kind of taken on. Tell us about the times that, your highs, when has it been made worthwhile? But also, because, authenticity, can we hear some of the lows as well?
Absolutely, yeah. You can. Let me start with the lows. Let's go straight into those. So after the first commsHERO, I had my first experience of trolling, and at the time it was like the worst thing ever, because it was the first time in social media. I think I'd been on Twitter in the main here probably for about 3 or 4 years, and then we had I'm going to use the word community, but there were 6 of them. Hero haters, and there's a few people who are listening in the audience now who know, because I shared that shared that kind of instance with them at the time. But I have to admit, it really hit me, and it made me think, oh God, I thought social media was really, really nice, and everybody was really nice. And After kind of taking it in and letting a few people, just speaking to a few people that I know in the comms community, kind of came back down to earth and realized that, look, hang on, it's just 6 people. And 7 years on, we're still going, but those people they're still on social. I don't even know where half of them are, but I don't track them or anything like that, you know. But there's that temptation to, you know, I'll troll them back and all, but to be honest with you, we just ignored it and just got on with what we were doing. We believed in what we were doing. So it was definitely a low light from a commsHERO point of view, because at the time we had such euphoria after the first event. We were already planning the next 3 events in 2014. And I was thinking, well, what's not to like? And then you've got people saying, oh, we kind of don't like what you're doing. That's the polite version. Yeah, it did hit me hard, because you're thinking, God, you know, you're just trying to do something nice for people. And if you don't like what we're doing, then just move on. You don't need to comment. And that was definitely a low light. There was probably another one in the at the first event when, you know, literally it was 2 of us at the time trying to get the event stuff together, and we were putting the pull-up banner up in the reception, and the first delegate walked in probably about 20 minutes before we were due to open the doors, and we thought, you know, oh God, this is real now. We're trying to put pull-up banners and stuff. So we've had lots of fun and what have you on the way, but the trolls and the preparation required and what have you getting into it, and the reality of that setting in, there were low lights, but like I say, we're still here and we've continued to grow.
Give me them 6 names and I'll send my dad round. No, I think, you know,
we'll put them in room 101.
Rachel says it best: you can't please everyone, and you acted with the integrity you're known for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there was some great advice from Andy Barr yesterday about trolls as well.
Yeah.
I think ultimately you're always going to have to deal with those keyboard warriors, aren't you?
Yeah.
What about the highs then?
I think the community and how it's grown, and genuinely, it's probably something that happens every day or most days, definitely every week. For the last 7 years, there's something that's happened in the commsHERO community, and whether it's somebody receiving swag and they've just tweeted about it and they're so elated, or I get people messaging me saying, oh, I want to buy swag for our team. And I apologize to everyone who's done that, but it's not for sale. And we've kind of kept true to that. It's not a commercial thing, but the community itself, doing events like this, I mean, it's just a massive buzz that we can continue to do it. But I have to say, after some of the speakers, the brands that we've had speaking, so we've had Innocent, Yorkshire Tea, Greg's, Krispy Kreme, you know, brands that are all fantastic brands. And after, I might have stalked them for a little while before they said yes, but they know that. But they said yes, and that was the main thing. And to give people access to those speakers, and they're not on the speaker circuit anyway. They don't go and speak at events, so it's brilliant to have those people. So I think they're the highlights. And then, you know, the people who the way the community's kind of just got on board and using hashtag commsHERO outside of the events, that stuff, because there's something that happens on that hashtag every single day of the week for the last 7 and a bit years. That's a massive highlight, to be honest with you. So it's every day I get those highlights. There's far too many to mention, and the community of people that lots of them are here today, people who've been speaking at the events, and the opportunity to give people that voice as well. I think that because there's lots of people who've spoken at commsHERO who aren't seasoned speakers, or they're on the speaker circuit, giving those people an opportunity just to have a voice, and hopefully it's helped their career progression. If it does, great. If it helps them as an individual to be more confident, then all those things are absolutely brilliant as well.
Yeah, I think that's so lovely. And, you know, we're missing great chat. There's some hilarious things. There's lots of love for you. Carly Cook saying, I think you deserve an MBA. And Jules thanking you for the opportunity. You know, you very much inspire that, you know, it is a real community. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Now it is coming up to 1:45, and we said about bringing some people on stage.
Yeah.
But, just before we do that, I'd like to ask you, I've got about a million more questions that I'd love to ask you, but I'm sure we can do it over Twitter or on a networking table. So I'll just ask you, what is the best advice you've ever received?
Ignore the trolls, I think, to be honest with you, because genuinely, without that bit of advice, I would have, commsHERO would have just disappeared. It would have finished. There's tons of advice, and I'm just thinking that's the one that kind of sticks in my mind.
Yeah, I think that is a good piece of advice as well. I know, you know, as a comms person kind of starting out, like what do you share on Twitter? And it's nice to have you guys as that inspiration to kind of always be positive, and you know, not in a sickly sweet, like toxic positivity way.
Yeah.
I think you are genuinely kind of looking for the best things that happen in the industry. So it is brilliant to hear that and to see that. And you know, without getting too emotional, I just want to say a big thank you for you guys for, you know, being there then, being here now, and you know, giving this old girl like a chance to ask a legend question. So I really appreciate that.
You're the legend. I've got some. You're the legend, Teela. Don't worry.
Give over. Now I know that we've got comms heroes from as far away as Tasmania. So shouting out to Sarah there. In my brain, I went, it is Tasmania, not Tanzania.
Yeah.
And we've got people tuning in from Canada. We have people worldwide. So now, guys, I am going to ask people to pop their hands up. In fact, let's have some emoji love for that there, as if Chaudhry, absolute comms legend, hero. Thank you very much, guys. Now, have you got a compelling commsHERO story? How did you get into commsHERO? Pop your hands up and let us bring you on stage. And should we start with Hal Reynolds, because there was a story that people wanted to know a bit more. Oh,
you got me.
We've got Carly. Woo!
I'm not Helen. I'm not going to pretend to be.
Carly, step onto the stage and tell us your story, please.
Okay, so I think I was born to be a communicator, because when I was about 6 or 7, maybe a bit older, my mum told me the birds and the bees, and the next day I broadcast it to the entire playground, and I had an audience around me. And that kind of proceeded throughout my childhood, that I was always communicating messages and that kind of thing. But I never actually thought about it as a career. And then I did art at university. And while I was at uni, I got invited onto a comms team at my church. And so I started doing like comms as a volunteer. And then I went on to lead a communications team at my church in Newcastle. I did that for 5 years as a volunteer while I was having kids as well. Still didn't really think of it as a career, and then it wasn't until, I forget the timings, but probably sort of 3 or 4 years ago, I started to think, actually, I could make money from this. And I enjoy it. But every time I went for jobs, they always said you don't have enough experience. And, you know, there were various other things going on. And then last year, I went into 2020 expecting it to be a year of clarity. I didn't expect clarity to come through a global pandemic, but it just put everything into focus. I realized the job I was doing wasn't where I wanted to be. And so I did an internal comm certificate with the CIPR, almost as a bit of I'm going to get it out of my system. And if I like it, then I'll go for it. If I don't, then, you know, at least I've tried. And I absolutely loved it, realized I am actually good at this. I have an intuitive sense of these things. And then again, didn't want to wait. I didn't really want to wait for someone to give me a job. So I basically quit my job and decided to go self-employed and build up experience myself. So I've been quite transparent about the fact that I feel like I'm a beginner and I'm learning. And so I'm doing some work with some charities. I'm working with Advita Patel. I'm doing some freelance work with Resource, which has been incredible. ASIF's been really supportive. So that's my story in a semi-nutshell.
Yeah, thank you, Carla. We've got a lot of love for your life story there. Really appreciate you sharing it. Thank you very much. Anybody else, if you want to pop your hand up, and you can do it as Lee's instructed by the emoji. Anyone else going to share their story? We've got a lot of stories in the chat. Oh, we've got Joel, the lovely Joel.
Hi. Oh, hang on a minute. Let's turn the camera on. You think I'd know how to do this by now? Just wanted to say a big well done to the gaffer, really, because I joined Resource in 2014, and you'd just done the bulk of 3 comms heroes. I was kind of thrown into it a little bit, and since then we've gone from strength to strength. But that unequivocal kind of dedication to commsHERO that Asif has kind of led, and all our team has followed him behind. So that's the creative team, that's the events team, that's my team in Elliot and myself. So, and we've learned a lot. And I think the proudest thing is when we see people at these events and they're enjoying it and they're learning. There's nothing better from our side, and you know we get to meet some really interesting people. So, thanks, Gaffer. I just wanted to say that.
Cheers, Joel. Thank you.
Aww.
I feel like this is your life now. For unfortunately, there'll be again. I keep doing stuff when I've come on screen about that. Millennials will just be thinking, "What is he talking about?" Yeah. Google this is your. Cheers, Joel. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, welcome.
Oh, Fly Petty says, "Stop it, Joel. I'm going to cry." How much have you paid him to say that? Slipped a couple of Krispy Kremes in his paycheck this month. We have got the legend Hal Reynolds joining us. I'm intrigued by your story.
Hi, Helen.
Hello. I hope you enjoy my absolutely looking like a wreck. I was not expecting to come on camera today. I put some makeup on.
You look gorgeous.
Well, thank you very much. That's very nice. See, that's the commsHERO community. Even when you feel like rubbish, people make you feel good. Yes, I just thought I'd come on and say a big thank you to the comms father, now christened by Jules. You are the comms father. You make us offers we can't refuse. Right from the beginning, when I heard about this, and as I've told me all about the vision, I just thought, I got to be on that. I got to be a part of that. I'm going to massively... If I have to get in without permission, I'm going in. I asked my boss, my new boss at the time, can I go and do this conference? And she said no. I was like, all right, then I'm leaving. Bye. Because I'm going to go to commsHERO. So yes, a big thank you. Right from the off, I knew it was good. You just get that feel, and you feel like a magnet drawn to a community, and you know it's going to be good. And it's always a pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you, Helen. It's really lovely. Thank you.
Are you feeling the love, Azif?
It's amazing, honestly. But don't forget this. I'm transcending this to the team that I'm here at Resource HQ. So it's going back out to all of those people.
Yeah, big up to the team. Right. We have got time for I think maybe one or two more. Oh, we've got RSK coming to the stage now. I have made lots of friends through commsHERO, and RSK is one who probably wishes she'd never met me on that table at the time, because I am always pinging into her inbox saying, hello.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to speak is because when I first came across commsHERO on Twitter and I hadn't been to a conference, I felt like a poser becoming a commsHERO. And I have to say thank you to Asif and how he's created the community that I didn't feel so, I felt like I can't be a commsHERO. I've never been to a conference. I've never experienced it. And then COVID hit and I couldn't go to the live conference. So the virtual one last year was great, which made me feel, and I bet Teela and a whole bunch of people. And it's a very supportive community. So I'd just say that anyone who feels that they're a poser, I feel like one. So I'm sure there's other people out there. Well, I hope I'm not the only one. Well, it's okay if I am. I just thought I'd share that.
I don't think you are the only one. And I have to say, Rebecca has just opened Studium Consulting. And so, I think that must help with her feeling like a poser. Is Sophia around? Are we going to get little sis up on stage to say a few words, or is she shy? Is she hiding? Is that her in the background? This is Sophia. Blame Nafisa. She's suggesting we pull you up onto stage.
While she's coming up, Teela, we'll we'll pick up on the representation question as well. I think that's an important one too, after Sophia's said her bit. So.
Hello.
Hi, Sophia.
So I think what Nafisa's talking about is we did a little podcast and it was just about Asif really, and it wasn't supposed to be. So I don't think everybody knows this, but me and Asif I didn't like Asif for quite a while. You don't always like your siblings. And then when he told me about this event, commsHERO, I was like, it's not going to work. Leave him to it. And he invited me, and I was really impressed. And I've joined in now with like hosting and bringing some of the guests and things like that. And it's I've got work out of it. The social networking has been amazing. I've made some incredible friends. And I do get stopped from people saying, "Oh, are you Asif's sister?" So yeah, it's changed my life too. And I was actually last year going to leave comms and join the police. And Asif said, "No, don't do that. What are you doing that for?" And got me involved more. And I'm glad I've stayed now. So yeah, thanks, Asif. I like you now.
Bless you. I would trade you for my big bro in a heartbeat, because these are words I can't say on this because it's being recorded. Yeah, thank you, Sophia.
Thanks.
Right, shall we? Yeah, let's get back to the question. So this was a question about representation. So all the feels there, as if, and
yeah, smashing. Thank you.
So one of the questions that you wanted to pick up on was this, 96% white representation in the comms industry, and yet, as we've seen yet again from this commsHERO week, the commsHERO community is so diverse. So how do you ensure that you have this representation?
It's a huge part of it. I mentioned when right at the opening about how did it come about, and I mentioned pale male stale, so it was kind of a big deal. I'm not here playing the race card or anything, but I think representation is not just about the stereotypical things people would think about, but it is about levels of experience, giving tautology. How do people get that experience? You've got to give them the opportunity. So why does somebody need to wait 10 years before they can get on the speaker circuit?
Yeah.
And I think we've held true to that all the way through. And I put during Mark Webb's session, I'm quite open and honest about it. We don't always get it right, but we've always tried really hard to make sure we've got good representation across whatever aspects of that is. And I'm pleased that, responding to people like Mark, who messaged me and said, look, you've got a great diverse lineup, but you haven't got anyone from a disability PR point of view. And I went, you know what, that's because I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
But I do now. So I'm going to make a slot available for you. So will you come and speak? And he said, yeah. And I went, fantastic. So Mark's on there now, things like closed captions, not just that representation, but accessibility. We have to pay more money in the platform to get closed captions on as a feature. It's an extra add-on. Most organizations would think, oh well, we don't need to do that, but
yeah,
we don't need to do it because nobody said to us you must have closed captions. But I noticed Rachel Miller commented on it yesterday and again today, which is really lovely. And those are the little touches that sometimes you've got to put your money where your mouth is, and that's investing your own budget, but also investing your time in finding those speakers. And that's something we've always been really true about, that we find those people. So yeah, it's very important, and we'll always continue. So we're always looking for new speakers, and so please drop in the DMs and volunteer yourselves, and we'll always try and find that platform at the monthly catch-ups if we kick those back off again, but also the big events like this one as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you are out there watching and thinking, actually, I'd love to be a speaker, but where would I start? commsHERO, that's your answer.
I've got a podcast series as well. So I'll be kicking back off recording that again in November. So we've recorded 50 plus episodes of that. And again, you look at the range of speakers. I've seen people who've posted a blog, and most people said, oh, this is the first time I'm recording a podcast. And they've done it, and they can now search for their name in Spotify and they appear. So it's really nice to do that for people.
Yeah, that is great. The comments, the love that has been shown, it just makes me so proud to kind of be a part of this community. And I feel like, you very much found me, and everyone is welcome there. So yeah, thank you very much for, bearing all in this fireside chat. I have really enjoyed it. I hope you guys watching have as well. If you do have any further questions for Asif, I'm sure you'll be around on tables, won't you, Asif? And,
yes,
follow on Twitter. Make sure obviously you're following commsHERO, you fools. But don't forget, we've got those competitions as well. And, make it worthwhile. Get on those tables, do some speed networking, because you won't regret the conversations that you get to have and the interesting people that you will get to meet. So even if you're a bit of an introvert, put yourself out there, try and meet some new people whilst you have the time. And those sessions are happening kind of between each of the sessions, so you've got lots of opportunities. So Asif, any closing comments, or I want to give you a chance to defend the toast TP.
Oh, the toast TP, yes. Cold toast. Do you butter your toast cold or hot? If you do it cold, then prop up the 2 slices of bread in a toast TP format, and they will cool evenly and nicely, and then apply butter, peanut butter, jam, whatever you want to put on there. But yeah, there's a debate that rages about that one on Twitter. Always, you can spend months curating content, but yeah, the toast TP, that's the one. Yeah.
I can't keep up with it. Oh no, it's wrong. It's wrong.
I do want to put a kind of crowdsource out there for next year. If in-person events come back, we want to just understand the value of the virtual event format, and do people want this to continue? Would they like us to do, I've got to use the word hybrid, haven't I? That's because everyone knows what that is. But an in-person event where people actually put proper capes and masks on and do all the stuff we did before COVID, but also at the same time having the virtual space for people. But we're not going to make the virtual attendees feel like they're in the cheap seats. That's the important bit on hybrid. So if you have any thoughts or opinions, DM or put your comments in the chat. If you would attend an in-person event next year, we'd love to do that, because people are saying, look, are you doing in person? We'd love to do it. But I think we'll incorporate this virtual format as well.
Yeah. So if you have any opinions on that, please share them. I for one would love to meet IRL. A couple of pizzas from the Tasty Multi deal.
They're getting some more PR they did last year and again this year. But the prices have gone up now. I think it's gone up to £11.50 for 3 pizzas, 3 fries, and 3 cans of pop. So that's what living in the north is like, you see. Value for money.
London prices. But no, it's still a great deal. So Lee has got that poll up there. So would you attend in person? Would you attend virtual? Jules has got an essential question. Will we get Krispy Kreme if we meet in person?
Absolutely. And I must give you breaking news on that, because I've had an email from Krispy Kreme to say that there are 15 dozen donut vouchers that will be awarded to prize winners starting tomorrow and Friday session, but also the after party. So if you haven't registered for the free after party, please get booked on that. There's some fantastic stuff there, but more importantly, we wanted to just give people an opportunity to just not have any content, comms content, but DJ session from Graham Park. We've got Silent the Magician, Arthur Smith the comedian, but also the networking tables will be open. So just come along, grab yourselves your drinks, and just come along and chat and make some new contacts, or get into chat to a few existing ones that you've got. So please register for that, and share it with your comms teams, because that after party is free to attend. And final thing I need to mention, if you haven't ordered your commsHERO t-shirt yet, please do that, because it makes it a nightmare to fulfill all the swag afterwards. So please do that for us.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, Asif. And as I say, any further questions, jump on a table, follow Asif on Twitter and get those in. And if you've got your own commsHERO story, please share it with the hashtag commsHERO. And then remember those prizes, including Krispy Kremes from tomorrow. Very exciting. Right. So thank you, Asif. Can we get to our last round of, there we go. They're already Pavlov's dogs. They know when to do
everyone.
it. Amazing. Thanks so much, Asif.
Thank you.